We are back in Taco Tuesday edition of Danny and Cello. I am Danny Williams, Marcello Romano, not sitting next to me here in our palatial studio here. He's actually, where are you at, Cello? Speak for yourself.
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, Danny.
Nashville, man.
Yeah, I wanted to
What are you
have
doing?
boots
What's
on
that?
the
You're at the,
ground. I wanted to have boots on the ground when the
yeah,
Broncos took care of the Titans. So I'm here. We're
you're
hanging out.
recording live.
We're getting our lives together.
Any aftermath, any fallout. We wanted to have some people there as well, even though the game was here. That makes sense. Okay. So we're gonna crank this show out here. When do you get back? How long is your vacay?
Tomorrow evening.
Okay. So we'll
Yeah,
see you in a couple days live in
yeah.
studio. The people
Then
want
I'll
to
be
know
out.
where you're going
Then
to
I'll be
be.
out in Indianapolis. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'll
the
be back.
paparazzi are kind of following Cello around right now. Hey, Danny and Cello, what are you wearing? It's
What?
Denver Tux. Remember that? Remember that
Yes,
one, Cello?
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's from back in the day.
On the
Okay,
red
so
carpet.
the Denver Broncos are 1-0. It didn't come in the style and fashion that most everybody in town thought it would. Okay, but I did Broncos pregame for 2 hours leading into 2 hours of the game. And one thing I kept going back to, and I said it over and over again, hey, no disrespect to the Titans, but, one of the, I said, I'm not trying to disrespect the Titans, not looking past them. But I said the worst thing that could happen for the Broncos is them to get into one of these, like a slugfest in an ugly way, turn the ball over, first one to 20 wins. I said that probably 5 times on the radio in 2 hours. And that's how the game kind of played itself out. So, Cello, just kind of your first thoughts to what you saw in game one and how you're feeling a little now that we have a couple days to have soaked it all in. Tell me what you're
I think,
feeling.
I think a lot of people are probably disappointed, and I think you can point it back to Sean Payton putting that expectation on this team. So going into week one, you're thinking, oh, they have a rookie quarterback. The Titans are nothing. They should wipe the floor with the Titans, correct? This is the National Football
Yep.
League, Daniel. It's not that easy. So I think expectations were raised and rightfully so. And I think the defense lived up to those expectations. And I think we are seeing that it's going to take some time for the offense to get where they want to be. Now there was flashes throughout the game, but they weren't clicking like we were expecting to see it.
I think here's my initial thought a little bit. My initial thought, Cello, is the Titans are probably a better outfit than we gave them credit for. Cam Ward kind of looked like Cam Newton to me. Body type, some of the big throws, some of the confidence, some of kind of the leadership stuff you don't see from a young guy quite like that. I saw a lot of that in Cam Ward. I think he was more impressive than maybe the numbers would indicate. So I think he gave the Broncos a little bit of run for their money, the Broncos defense, which was spectacular. I mean, the Broncos defense looks so good. It's like, man, if anybody lived up to any expectations, man, did those Broncos defense just look the part. Hufunga had double-digit tackles. Bonito, after that big money, man, smelling like that, smelling green, rich. I'm
Danny, they had
rich.
six
I can't
sacks,
go there, but yes.
like
Yeah,
six
they
sacks.
did.
Like that
Jonathan
doesn't happen.
Cooper, Zach Allen looked like an all-pro. It was impressive stuff. The Broncos defense was really, really impressive. Again, that's a bottom 7-6 team as a whole in offense in the NFL, but you're playing a talented guy in the number one pick. They had a decent, they had some decent skill players, B minuses, C pluses at receivers and at tight ends. Their best players, receivers and at running backs, their best players were all on defense, and their defense made plays to keep them in the game. Did their defense make plays to keep them in the game? Or did Bo Nix kind of maybe was trying to do a little bit too much? Answer that one.
I think it's probably a combination of both, to be honest with you. I think with the expectations being raised, let me ask you a question. What was your pick before the game? I said 24-13
The
Broncos. What was yours?
24-17 is right what I said before we went off the radio on Sunday morning, which was not a cover, which they didn't. Yeah, 8.5 was the number. If you got that hook on you, you're probably feeling like, man, ruined a pretty good day for a lot of people. Back end of those early games, which some of them were predictable, and the Broncos go and ruin your parlay. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough work.
There was a lot of folks out here pulling for that to happen, like just knowing what
Yeah,
their situation was and saying, "Hey, I think the Titans are young, the Broncos will cover it." So a lot of the fans out here that I talked to that day were Bronco
yeah.
fans for other reasons, right? As Brent Musburger would say. I think you ultimately come out of it
So
knowing
what
that the expectation was raised and they probably didn't meet it, but there's time. Give me another Super Bowl team that we've had other than maybe 97 and 98 where you said this is the expectation they're going to and they're going to play like that from week one and on. Because it doesn't happen. And they probably said
you
it
said
prematurely with
you
this
said
team.
something interesting, Cello. I kind of I've tiered down a little bit in just one game, my expectation level and my hype on Bo Nix, and maybe in conjunction in combination with Sean Payton. I'm just not, and it goes back to, at the core of, since we've been, back together doing this thing for months and months and months here on air, and now the hit digital show Danny and Cello, that I'm not all the way in on Bo, kind of the operation just quite yet. I want to be, and I'm trying hard to get there, man. I'm trying hard to get there, but I'm just not all the way kind of sold. He looked like garbage early in the season last year. I can get that. He's a sophomore now. I can understand wanting to go out there and do a lot, wanting to be an MVP candidate, wanting to be talked about like the Josh Allens of the world. But we all got to pump our brakes a little bit on putting Bo Nix in that class just yet, right?
Wow, I'm kind of actually surprised to hear you say that. Like, listen, we've just spent the whole
How
offseason
come?
saying this is this is the first season we've had where we haven't had a question at the quarterback position. And just because game one like wasn't great, I mean,
Yeah.
listen, Peyton Manning had some duds. John Elway had some duds. Like Jake Plummer had duds in there. And sometimes it's like I kind of tend to agree with your statement earlier, Danny, that I think he was probably wanting it to look like, hey, we're as good as our defense, and you're not yet. It's going to take some
Yeah.
time. There were some bright spots
Well,
though. You had the RJ Harvey, you had the connection with Sutton that we can't deny. It's going to grow. I just don't know if it'll grow enough this year to get where they want to go or where Sean Payton thinks they can go.
okay. Well, Sean's game plan was, and okay, if I'm going to make an excuse here for Bo Nix, the game plan obviously was go out there and throw, attack. That was the game plan. It wasn't let's get Dobbins and Harvey involved earlier. That wasn't the plan. It was to throw the ball, to attack, get Cortland Sutton involved in the game. Ingram wasn't as much involved in the game as I thought early. Yet the Titans remained in the game. The turnovers, the mistakes kept the Titans in the game. So maybe Bo Nix starts to press. Maybe the play calls are designed to let's open this thing up. 8-point lead isn't big enough. We need a 14-point lead. Let's blow these guys out. Let's not let them hang around and gain confidence. Can we blame Sean for any of Bo's mistakes that happened?
Yeah, I think you can for sure. I mean, you remember when we made the analogy, Danny, of like, hey, come watch my kid. He's a stud player. And maybe that specific game when they show up, it's like, he doesn't normally do that. So I think,
Yeah, he
I
doesn't
mean,
usually drop pop flies. Sorry.
like that type of analogy where he's put so much on this kid, and credit to Bo Nix. I mean, that's a lot to be taken with in the sophomore season, is to be
Okay, so
mentioned like,
this is just part of the process for Bo Nix, then, is what you're saying. Don't
I think so.
nobody panic yet.
I'm not panicking. I'm not going to, after one game, say you that like you're not sure that he's the answer. I still believe he is the answer.
Yeah,
So I just don't think, I mean, I think everything changed when
yeah.
expectations were raised with this. If Sean, let me ask you this. If Sean doesn't say that prior to the season about this being the seventh team he believes could win a Super Bowl, if those words were never uttered,
Yeah.
are we here having this discussion today after they just beat the Titans 20-12? I mean, yeah, there might be something like, hey, they
You
think they'll
kind
play better, but the expectation level skyrocketed, and now our
yeah.
expectations as fans and people covering the team, they've changed.
You cut out there barely for a second, but I got the beginning and the gist of what you were saying about Sean Payton proclaiming this is the seventh chick he thinks he has a chance to what with, if wink wink.
Mary,
Um I He doesn't have to do that kind of stuff. He didn't ever have to say this. So what he did was solidify any Broncos country, Will Peterson guys, or anybody who has the Broncos winning 13 games and competing for a championship this year. He validated that. And that's too much too soon. It's too strong. He never had to do it. And all that you're going to do is, and most likely, is kind of have egg on your face. You're going to kind of have egg on your face. And unless a lot of things go right for the Broncos here, which we see how hard it is. And now we know the Colts aren't going to be any cakewalk. The Colts just went and beat up a Miami team that a lot of people thought was a playoff team in the AFC. Playoffs. Now they just hope they can win a game. So I would just say the Colts, we're going to have our hands full with those guys. The best thing we have going for us, the surest thing the Broncos have, is that defense that looks world class, looks like one of the best in the whole wide world. I love saying stuff like that, right? Like when John Elway refers to Super Bowls as world championships. Love that, right? Shout out to Cello for still trying to make it happen here for another episode of Danny Cello from Nashville. He'll be back for the next episode. We appreciate Cello big time. We are going to keep cooking here. I want to do a little bit more. And just give some overall thoughts on week number 1 as we transition into the Colts. The next show will be not all about the Colts because there's still a little bit of aftermath in game 1. It's like a lot of weight on what happens in game 1. I think that the Broncos, obviously, I think they got away with one. And I don't know if a Broncos team of old that's just not a little bit more mature, that's not a little bit more talented, that's not a little bit more kind of further down the road would let that game get away. Calvin Ridley drops that ball there. If he catches that ball, then maybe we allow Cam Ward to become an overnight superstar and an icon, the likes of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. That's got to happen. That stuff starts and kind of is going to happen at some point for Cam Ward. I think he's really good. I think he has a chance to be really good. But the Broncos defense was so spectacular. Okay, man, they just did such a really good job. I'm like so proud of these guys in so many ways because the expectations have been ratcheted up so high. Ratchet, okay, as those rappers would say, right? Ratchet. They're ratcheted up, and I'm here for it. But what's real and what's not? How's that going to come to fruition? Well, top 2, 3, 4 defense in the league, 6 turnovers. 6 sacks, 2, 3, 4 turnovers. Now that's probably going to happen against Daniel Jones in this Colts game. We're going to find a couple turnovers that maybe we didn't kind of, we're waiting for with Cam Ward. Cam Ward may be a better player than Daniel Jones would ever be. And Daniel Jones has been in the league for now 5 years and 2 teams and was a first-round pick overall himself. So let's not act necessarily like the Colts are world beaters. I think it's their overall kind of complement of players that makes them unique and kind of dangerous. Just right there flirting with playoffs and 500 every single year, the Colts. The Titans, their defense, their best players are all on the defense, okay? Their best players are all on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that Jeffrey Simmons guy, man, I'd like to have him in a Broncos uniform. I wouldn't trade any of our defensive guys. I wouldn't trade him for the world. I love these guys, okay? But, man, that guy was just wrecking. He was absolutely kind of just wrecking. The Broncos made it really tough. And, the questions, the offensive line. A lot of people think, well, this is one of the best offensive lines in the league. It can be, and I think it's playing itself out to potentially be over the next couple years, okay? They protect Bo Nix. They do a pretty good job of that. But there are some miscues. There are some things that happen. It's the commitment to the run is a commitment from top to bottom, all the way down. And it's like you got to be calloused a little bit. We got to run the ball, be calloused a little bit. So, 1.5 yards is 3 yards. 3 yards is 4 or 5 yards, and 2nd and 6s and 2nd and 5s. And then you start to break them. Coaching and cohesion, the offensive line. It's not always about like the most talented guys. The New England Patriots never had the most talented offensive lines, but they had like the most cohesion within their offensive lines that led them, move on from guys after it was time to pay guys too much money and just kind of make it work for Tom Brady and whoever runner they had, at the time. They never, never premier superstar, Kevin Falk, Lawrence Moroney, guys like that kind of, just made it work a little bit, workmanlike. So that's what I want the Broncos offensive line to become. I want them. We saw Dobbins and we saw Harvey, what the duo is capable of. Would I have liked to see more of that? Yeah, absolutely. Harvey looks like he's one of these special players where you get the ball in his hands every single play and you're like, uh-oh. I mean, it could happen right now. Every play can be an explosion play with Harvey. And the same goes to Dobbins. They trusted Dobbins, and at the beginning of the game, like, where are they going with these touches here? Where they ended up kind of riding Dobbins once he looks at that Waffle House menu and he says, yeah, there's some run plays on here. Let's run the ball with Dobbins and let's get Harvey some opportunities to be explosive. Both those guys in the end probably proved to be 5 or 6 difference makers in the game. Those two, the run game as a whole, to kind of seal the deal a little bit, especially to be able to go to those guys effectively in the second half when Bo Nix is kind of living a little bit too dangerously and we know he's not having a great day. The run game may have been kind of the hero. So it's kind of crazy to think maybe the weakest part of this entire team, the run game. Okay, the run game's got gaping holes. We still question marks. Dobbins' bones are made out of pie crust. I wanted Henderson. I didn't want Harvey. Well, what happened yesterday? That was kind of the recipe for the win is like a stew. It's put too much of this, not enough of this. How did I make it so good last time? It's hard to figure out. Well, the run game has to be involved in that. And the run game down the stretch was the difference. I kind of think the difference in a game where the defense gets all the credit in the world, and rightfully so. So proud of the Broncos. It's the National Football League. Wins are hard to come by. The Dolphins thought they're going to walk away and be 1-0 and look forward to game 2. Underdogs kind of ours of, are kind of rule right now. And while the Broncos didn't cover the giant number, they got a really satisfying win. 12 points. Let's keep that up. Because we know the Broncos are probably going to break out for 24, 26, if that's considered breaking out. For the Broncos offense, I think it is, next week. Okay, that's what happens against the Colts. They probably, I think, give me game time. But I think I need to go get 26, 27 points, defense, short field or 2. Let's turn Daniel Jones over. Let's make them one-dimensional. Let's stack wins. Let's build the reputation. Let's prove we can win. The Broncos could win in many different ways, in shapes, and forms. I think that's really important that the Broncos continue to show that the completeness, of what championship contender isn't just a one-trick pony. Okay, so if the Broncos are going to compete for an AFC championship, for conference championship, it happens with not being as sloppy as they were. You do that against a better team, you lose. They lose against a better team. Okay, so I would just say kind of as a whole here to talk about, where we're at, the Broncos. So where are we at today? I'll tell you this. They find a way to lose that game, which some may think they were this close to letting the Titans make a real game of it. Or you might have the perception that the Broncos were always in control of that game. I would say somewhere a blend of between, somewhere in between. I would say Sean Payton's game plan had to be kind of maybe tossed out the window when the throwing the ball down the field, let's blow these guys out, so to speak. I think that was the game plan. Didn't happen. They stayed in the game and got stronger throughout the game, even though they couldn't generate any offense and even any yardage in the second half of the game. The Broncos were their own worst enemies. That won't work against the Colts even. That won't work against the Colts, let alone a better team, more of a, contender or contender in the AFC. But if I'm going to rank out here, who gets the credit here? I'm going to rank out credit for the win. Okay, defense as a whole. Inside of that, pass rush, interior, okay? And then secondary member you have to mention is Hufunga, who had to have had double-digit sacks. I was looking at the stat sheet at one point in the game, had 8 or 9. If he didn't finish with 11 tackles, I would be sacked, would be surprised. He was great. He was really super special. And then I think I go to the run game as a whole. I'm giving Sean even a little bit of credit when I'm trying to punish him early for lack of wanting to run the game, but then the calls late on Dobbins, getting Dobbins some more touches, trying to wear those Titans out a little bit and then hitting Harvey. You got to hit Harvey, sprinkle Harvey in just at the right moments to make that work. That was important. Offensive line gets some credit as well. I think the team finding a way to win as a whole, gut check, heart check, okay, character stuff. That stuff's always really important when you're trying to build a contender. You're trying to build a contender. So, we're going to wrap the show up. Thanks for Chavi for producing the product, Cello for making it happen here when he was out of town. We'll be back to the regular studio, back to the regular setup in a couple of days. I'm happy. I'm happy the Broncos are 1-0. For Chavi, for Marcello Romano, I am Danny Williams. We appreciate you guys and we love you guys. Good night, Sheila.